Okay guys, I'm back again, this time with a quick unboxing, setup, and first start on the Sportsman GEN3500I inverter generator. I believe this is going to be their first inverter generator, and they've offered a pretty large one to begin with. This one's rated for 3500 watts surge and 3000 watts continuous running. I've actually had this generator for a few weeks, but I'm just now unboxing it because I had to deal with some flood items. I'm in Detroit right now, and my basement ended up flooding, so for the past couple of weeks I've been throwing stuff out and cleaning, and I just wasn't able to get to this, but found some time today. Today is Saturday, and I'm going to go ahead and unbox this guy for you. So came in this outer boxing, was shipped via UPS. It's light enough to be shipped via UPS. You know, your typical traditional generators within this wattage range going to be well over 100 pounds or somewhere within the range. This guy weighs just about 80 pounds, so not quite as heavy, and can ship without being freighted. So that's one thing that's nice about it, but plenty of protective packaging materials here. We have the inner box of the product itself. Kick away the other box and get that out of the way of the video shot. So, I don't know if this is facing, yeah, it's facing. You guys can see it, 3500 watts max, 3000 running watts, made by Sportsman. So, this is actually a review item sent to me by New Buffalo Tools. They are the parent company of Sportsman. Just want to go ahead and thank them for sending this item over and allowing me to test it out for them. So, got one single little strap there. Got some tape. Alright, so up top we have a little, I guess that's foam of some type, but looks like we have the manual and warranty registration. Have a little baggie containing, looks like a male automotive style 12 volt socket, 2 alligator clips. That's your DC charging cable. Looks like we have a screwdriver and a spark plug removal tool. Looks like the screwdriver doubles as the wrench for the spark plug removal tool. Alright, oh, I thought the unit was upside down. The top kind of looks like wheels, but there's a little foam piece there. And the unit is facing right side up. I'll show you what I mean in this. Alright guys, sorry about that. My camera shut off on me, but we were at the point where I was looking at this little sticker that's telling me that the generator is shipped without gas or oil. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but let's take a look at some of the other features. The gas cap looks like it has a little retainer chain on it. So fuel filter down in there that I'm not going to mess with right now. This is kind of difficult to get to. On this side, looks like we have our recoil start. We have our choking lever. We have our fuel on and off. Around front here, let's see. So it's pure sine wave. We have our engine on and off, our economy throttle on and off, our DC protector. Has a typical car cigarette lighter to it, so plug in your cell phone charger, 12 volt fans, other 12 volt accessories into that. Should work fine in addition with the 12 volt plug. Looks like we have a 3-pin 30 amp RV style adapter, plugging directly into an RV. It's got its own circuit breaker. We have 2 outlets there. I believe that's a single 20 amp duplex outlet is what they consider that. But you have those. Looks like we have a protector for those. We have 3 output lights, overload alarm, low oil as well as the output. And then looks like some of these wheels have locks on them as well. Again, this is my first time seeing this generator, so sorry about stumbling, but I literally have not seen this before. It's pretty new on the market. Back inside, it's got some stickers there. Looks like some venting. Looks like this panel maybe comes off. The rear, obviously we have the exhaust, and up here at the top next to the gas cap looks like we have our access panel for the spark plug. So let me go ahead, get this unit propped up, put some oil in here, then we'll get it started. Alright guys, so now I have it propped up. What we're going to do is we're going to add the oil. We're going to oil the oil filter, and then we're going to take it outside, gas it up, and start it. I did kind of cheat a little bit. I went ahead and took a look and saw what was involved with doing this process. But that gives me the chance to tell you guys what you need. First, you're going to need the screwdriver, the Phillips head screwdriver that came in the little packet. It's a pretty nice screwdriver. It has a rubberized handle and has a magnetic tip to keep screws from coming off. You're also going to need, what doesn't come with the unit, is a 10mm socket wrench, as well as a 8mm socket, and that's to take off the air filter. But to get started here, what we're going to need is the screwdriver to remove the top two screws, and then this panel just comes off. Just unscrew them counterclockwise. You don't even have to take the screws all the way out. I just sort of get them out loose enough to stay in the panel but to come off. And just sort of brace the panel as it comes off. Alright, so just take that, set that off to the side. And here is the interesting part. I'm going to move the camera in a little bit closer here in just a second, but you have 6 screws. You have 2 10mm bolts and a single millimeter bolt in order to access the air filter. A little more involved than I would have liked, but definitely manageable. So let me move the camera in. Alright guys, so with the camera moved in, hopefully you guys can see this a little bit better. There are the 2 10mm bolts I was speaking of. Those actually connect up with the inlet for the carburetor. We have 6 Phillips head screws, and then we have a single 8mm bolt that we have to remove. Also, what you'll have to remove is the ventilation tube for the gas tank. This has a EPA certified vent where the gas fumes don't vent out into the atmosphere. They're actually reburned with the actual air. So we'll take a look at that. But what we're first going to do is we're going to first remove the 2 10mm bolts up at the top of the air cleaner unit here. Alright. Next we're going to remove the 8mm bolt at the bottom corner here. Alright, now we're going to remove our 6 screws. Alright, now that those have been removed, you have 2 hoses here, the EPA gas vent hose that I mentioned earlier, which is not clipped into place, and then you have this other hose, which I believe is a breather tube from the engine. That is clipped into place. I'm not going to mess with that hose. I'm going to leave that attached, but I'm just simply going to pull out this EPA gas vent hose and pull straight out on the assembly and sort of let it hang off to the side. You might have to pull this hose off a little bit. And there we go. Now, I don't know if you saw that or not, but what just dropped out is a little aluminum sleeve. And this little aluminum sleeve actually goes on as a spacer onto the carburetor bolts, or onto this little lower bolt here, which I believe this one came from, just to act as a spacer. So if that falls out, just put it back in, don't worry about it. But in order to get the air filter out, what you have to do now is sort of just pull up on the bottom, and it clips out of place, then pull it out completely, and then here is the air filter. There's your air filter. So what I'm going to do now is grab some 10W30 oil, put a few drops around it, sort of squish it around, and then put it back in place. Alright guys, so went ahead, grabbed myself a brand new bottle of 10W30 oil. Don't use any other type of weight because the manual specifies only 10W30. Also, at this point, don't use synthetic or a synthetic blend as of yet, because for the first 10 hours we're going to pretty much be pulling any dirt and debris that was left over from the manufacturing process out of the engine. And not only would it be a waste to use this more expensive oil for just 10 hours, could affect how it gets rid of the debris. So just regular conventional 10W30. Also, it's not a bad idea to grab a roll of paper towel right now, especially since we're about to get our hands dirty, and of course a funnel to add the oil. But all we're going to do, take the air filter. I'm going to open up our oil here first, actually. And we're just going to put maybe around a few drops in a few areas, just to get things started. I'm not too sure if you guys can see me or not, because I'm actually on the floor of my garage doing this. But just a few drops. Around that amount should be good enough. And then all we're going to do is sort of squeeze it like a hot dog bun in order to get that oil circulated around there. That's all I'm doing. Squeezing it and trying to get the oil all around. And you just want to do a good enough job in order to coat most or all of the air filter. And just do that for a second, and voila, there we go. So at this point we're just going to put that back in. Hands a little greasy, so I'm going to take my paper towel, wipe my hands off, and we're going to reinstall the cover here. So we have two little ears pointing out, that's what goes at the top, and then two nubs, that's what goes at the bottom. So we're going to clip the bottom in first. That's what it looks like we're supposed to do. Again, I'm at a weird angle here on the floor, so I can't see my viewfinder, but hopefully this is in frame. Alright, that clipped into place. Now we're going to clip our ears into place. And then simply reverse the process. Make sure that this gasket is in place up here at the carburetor. Make sure you have your little aluminum sleeves into place. Kind of pull that hose over. Make sure that you're not running into any hoses. And just kind of slip everything back into place. And then of course reinstall your bolts. Not going to take up your time doing that. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get to the oil. Alright, so I got all the screws back in. One special note is to go cross corner as far as putting them in, just so that you get everything nice and evenly snug. Don't use a power tool to, like a power drill, to drill these back in, because these are just drilling into plastic. They're somewhat easy to strip out. Of course, you can probably use a power tool to take them out, just not put them in. And also, don't forget about your vent hose. We're getting ready to put the oil in here, but before I do, I just noticed some basic parts I want to point out. There's your choking lever. Behind it is a little step motor. That's what your eco mode switch operates. It pretty much changes the idle. Here's a fuel filter. That's a really nice option to help keep your fuel nice and clean. It sort of acts as a secondary filter in addition to the filter screen that's in the tank. Gas tank is made of metal. It's 1.7 gallons, and the engine itself is 149 cc's, taking 30.4 ounces of 10W30, and that's exactly what we're about to put in. Again, keep some paper towel handy. Get your oil. Takes pretty much that whole quart. Get yourself a funnel and the oil fill, dipstick check, and drain area. It's all in this little plug here. I notice it's sort of difficult to get to. This area sort of cut off by the outer casing, so with my big hands it's sort of hard to access, but still manageable. You notice it has a little oil in it from the factory, from the testing process, but not enough oil to get the unit started. So what we're going to do, simply stick our funnel in there, keep that paper towel handy, and we're going to slowly add this oil as to not create any type of spill. So pretty much take a whole quart, put that in slowly, and alright guys, so as you can tell by the mess I made, I actually overfilled the unit. I guess the unit had some pre-existing oil from the manufacturing process. They always have some residual oil. This one had a little bit more than I thought, and as a result I overfilled it and had to drain the oil back into the excess oil back into the oil bottle. I made a little bit of a mess, but that's why I always carry paper towel on me to make sure I'm not ruining floor surfaces or anything like that. And this is one of the advantages of real world testing. I don't have a camera crew or something to edit this out. This actually happened, but I did it so you won't have to. So hopefully that helps you out. But we have the perfect amount of oil in here. What you want to do to check the oil is the dipstick is fairly small, but all you're doing is sticking it in there without twisting it in and looking at the oil level, and we have sufficient oil. Another way to check is the perfect amount of oil is when the generator is on a level surface like this and the oil is just starting up at the bottom of the threads. That's the perfect amount of oil. Another thing you don't want to do, because you can actually have a spill worse than mine, is if you're adding oil to the generator while tilting it. You can actually overfill it, and then of course you're going to have a bigger mess. So fill it up on a level surface. Go a little bit slower than I did with filling the oil up to avoid overfilling it like I did. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to clean up a little bit more of this mess, put the cover back on. I'm going to take it outside, gas it up, and start it. Maybe take a few measurements from it, and we'll see you then. So just 1 second. Alright guys, so I brought it outside and put gas in. I haven't done anything else to it as far as priming it or trying to get it started. So this will be a true cold and a first start. What I'm going to do here is start it up, get a sound measurement of it at 0 feet, 23 feet, and around 43 feet. Initially it should be louder than the manufacturer's claim of 63 decibels. Until it gets fully broken in, at which point I'll retest it. But I'm also going to analyze the frequency in hertz, the voltage coming out of it, and testing it with small AC loads, just a 100-watt fan, and I'll also take a DC reading of it. But first, let's go ahead and prime it. First going to do is put the choke from the run to the choke position. The on switch is already on. It was already on out of the box. Don't know why, but we're going to prime it a good few times. And I'm starting to see fuel go into the primer bulb. I'm going to give it around 20 or 30 pumps. Then I'm also going to pull the string slowly around 5 or 6 times in order to, I guess, prime the cylinder with oil, as well as help get some of that fuel into the carburetor bowl. So more primes here. And we'll give it a few slow pulls. They pull this little string off that's telling us to add oil because we've already done that. Pretty good compression. For some reason the string doesn't want to go back in all the way. Alright, we'll reset it. Okay. For some odd reason the string is not wanting to reset. Alright, so now that the string's acting funny, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this thing, see if it's going to start for us. But I'm going to make sure the eco throttle is off, the engine switch is on, and we're just going to go ahead and try this. First real pull, start it up. So the first real pull started it. It's currently in its full output mode. I'm going to take a sound measurement right next to it. So right next to it, 81 decibels. That's to be expected in the full output mode while the unit's breaking in. I have my tape measure laid out here. We're going to take a measurement at 23 feet. So, 23 feet. And we're at 68.1 decibels. Go back to 43 feet. So about 43 feet. We're at 60 decibels, so fairly quiet, and that's not in the idle mode, which I'm going to put it in next. Alright guys, so I have to change out my memory card, but we're going to take the low output sound level. Right now it's in the high output still. And I've connected a 25-foot extension cord up to a P3 kilowatt meter to test out the hertz, and we're right at 59 hertz, 121.7 volts, and that seems to stay fairly consistent. Also have the DC output hooked up with the alligator clips hooked into a multimeter, and I'm getting 14.84. Generally just under 15 volts, or right about 15 volts. Then when you put it in the economy switch, generally it goes down to around 11.8 volts. So it looks like in order to charge a battery, you have to have it in the full output mode, or like charge other devices. Not that big of an issue to me. But let's take a look at the AC output. We're now at 121.6 volts. It's still at 59.9 hertz. The generator is running smoothly, although there is some slight variation in the RPM in both the economy and full normal mode. But that is to be expected with any small engine, and especially when one is breaking in. Let me go ahead and take the sound measurement now. Point blank next to the unit. Claims 63 decibels in this lower output mode of 23 feet. But let's see what it makes next to it. We're at 77 decibels near the exhaust, at roughly right next to the generator. Let's go back 23 feet. So we're at 23 feet and noticeably quieter. And you can't get any closer than that. The manufacturer is right on at 23 feet. It's at 63 decibels. And if, in case you're wondering, I'm in A waiting, and it's at it's registering at a fast measurement. Let me go ahead and put it in slow. So it went up to 64, but right up there with what the manufacturer claims. Let's step back. And I can barely hear the unit right now, and I'm barely above a whisper, but let's take the measurement. We're at as low as 56, and that's with the wind blowing right now. So very, very quiet generator. I expect it to get even quieter once it's fully broken in after 20 hours. What I'm going to do today is basically run it for a few hours. I've been timing it ever since it was started with my cell phone. Get a total hour rating at the end of the review. But I'll run it for a few hours with that box fan. As a matter of fact, let's plug that in right now, and then I'll be back with update videos, guys. So slight change in RPM with the box fan. Still at 59 hertz. It's using 111 watts, 0.98 amps, and we're still at 120.02. I'll have more updates for you guys later, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.